And the theme of Scripture is very intriguing. It's taken from Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 9, which says, "Better to enjoy what the eyes see than to wander after one's desires." And as our preview points out, we all love Jehovah very much. We want to do all we can in His service. So this might move us to expand our ministry, perhaps reaching out for auxiliary pioneering or regular pioneering, Bethel service, the goal of reaching or working on theocratic construction projects, or maybe other privileges of service. But what if, despite our best efforts, we are unable to reach our goals? Well, this lesson will answer that question as we examine Jesus' illustration of the talents. And as our subheadings indicate, we'll see where we can look for joy, how to increase our joy, and goals that will add to our joy. So let's get started. Brother Michael Waddell is our reader, so let's go ahead with paragraph 1, please, Brother Waddell.
We have a lot of work to do as this system nears its end. We all want to serve Jehovah as fully as we can. Many are expanding their ministry. Some hope to serve as pioneers. Others hope to serve at Bethel or share on the construction of theocratic facilities. And numerous brothers are reaching out to qualify as a ministerial servant or an elder. How pleased Jehovah must be to see this willing spirit among His people.
So how are many responding to the needs in the field? Sister Sarah, please.
Well, just as foretold in Psalm 110:3, Jehovah's people are offering themselves willingly. Many have been able to expand their ministry, pioneer, serve at Bethel, or help to build theocratic facilities.
Thank you. Excellent. And Sister Sheck?
Yeah, many are also sharing the same willingness as the prophet Isaiah did when they say, "Here I am, send me."
All right, excellent. Thank you. Paragraph 2, please.
We could begin to feel disheartened, however, if considerable time has passed and we have not yet reached some of our spiritual goals. Or we might be discouraged if, because of age or other circumstances, some privileges are not available to us. That is the case with Melissa. She would love to serve at Bethel or attend the school for kingdom evangelizers. But she states, "I'm over the age limit." Now for me, those privileges are only a dream. At times, I feel discouraged.
So how might we react if we do not reach some of our spiritual goals? Sister Leon.
Yeah, if we've worked really hard to attain them and considerable time has passed, it can be very discouraging. And just like Proverbs 13:12 says, expectation postponed makes the heart sick.
Thank you. And Sister Diaz?
And that was the case with Melissa. She had the goal of serving at Bethel or for the School of Kingdom Evangelizers, but because she was over the age, she wasn't able to accomplish that goal, and this led her to feel very discouraged and disheartened.
Yeah, thank you. And Brother Justice?
And so that doesn't mean that we've lost our hope in Jehovah's big promises for the future, but just like was mentioned in Proverbs 13:12, can make our heart sad, we feel discouraged, and that can cause us to lose our joy in our everyday service to Jehovah.
Thank you. Brother Jackson, please.
Being disheartened means losing spirit and morale, to be deflated. Being discouraged means loss of courage, confidence, and hope. So we're weakened and undermined. So the effects of disappointment can be very deep and serious. And as Proverbs has it brought out there, it can make our hearts sick.
Very good, thank you. So maybe some of us can relate to the feelings of Melissa, being disappointed because we can't reach some of our goals. So what steps can we take to help qualify for privileges? Well, let's see in paragraph number 3.
Some who are young and healthy may need to mature and display certain qualities before they can qualify for additional privileges. On the one hand, they may be intelligent, decisive, and eager. On the other hand, they may need to learn to be more patient, thorough, or respectful. If you focus on the needed qualities, a privileged service may be extended to you when you least expect it. Consider the experience of Nick. When he was 20 years old, he was deeply disappointed because he was not appointed a ministerial servant. He says, "I felt there must be something wrong with me." But Nick did not give up. He took full advantage of the privileges that were open to him. Today, he served as a member of a branch committee.
So what steps might some have to take in order to qualify for certain privileges? Brother Sheck, please.
There's a saying, a watched pot never boils. If we focus too much on a specific privilege or goal that we're seeking, it can seem like it's never happening, it's never coming. But if we use that waiting time to prepare other ingredients for this meal, so to speak, then we'll be rewarded when it comes when we least expect it. So we can use that time to develop qualities that will qualify us for other privileges of service.
Very nice, thank you. Brother Martinez.
And we do have many gifted younger ones in our organization who have excellent qualities. Some listed here, being intelligent, decisive, eager. They might be highly efficient, but it may be the case that they have to dial back some of those qualities so for the sake of balance. That way they can actually focus on other very important qualities, such as the ones listed, being patient, thorough, and respectful.
Excellent, thank you. And Sister Jackson.
And some learn about Jehovah later in life. They may be well qualified and have excellent skills, but they need to develop the balancing qualities that would help them to take direction from someone maybe younger than them or less experienced in a theocratic environment.
All right, good, thank you. Brother Leon?
And I enjoyed the experience here of our brother Nick. That was his case. He had the desire to serve as a ministerial servant, but at 20 years old, he didn't really have those qualities developed yet. But he was able to focus on those things, to focus on what he did have, what privileges, and later, of course, he was able to qualify.
Excellent, thank you. And Brother Elam?
One of the qualities we may need to give more attention to is humility. Moses at the age of 40 was well educated. He thought he was fit and ready to take on the challenge. God allowed him 40 years to develop humility and meekness. So we may look like this young man and say they're passing me by. They don't know what a gift they're giving up. When Jehovah says, when I get finished with you, you'll be so refined that you won't recognize yourself.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to paragraph number 4, please.
Are you discouraged because you have not yet reached a certain spiritual goal? If so, share your concerns with Jehovah. In addition, ask mature brothers for suggestions on how you can improve in your service to God. Then try your best to apply their counsel. If you do, you may well receive that privilege or reach that goal. But, as in the case with Melissa mentioned earlier, the privilege you desire may be beyond your reach at the present time. What then? How can you maintain your joy? To answer that question, this article will discuss 1, where to look for joy, 2, how to increase your joy, and 3, what kinds of goals you can set that add to your joy.
So what will we consider in this article? Our Sister Justice.
Well, perhaps the privilege we desire is beyond our reach at the present time. So what then? How do we maintain our joy? This article is going to discuss where to look for joy, how to increase our joy, and what kind of goals we can set that will add to our joy.
Excellent. Thank you. And Sister Lim.
And in Psalm 37, 5 and 7, it invites us to share our concerns with Jehovah. He's ready to lift the worries off of our shoulders. We just need to wait expectantly on him and maintain our joy no matter what our circumstances are.
Very good. Thank you. Well, let's dig into this now. Our first point, where to look for joy. Paragraph 5, please.
As recorded at Ecclesiastes 6:9, we can find joy if we look for it in the right place. A person who enjoys what the eyes see appreciates what he has as his present circumstances. In contrast, the person who wonders after his desires keep wishing for something he simply cannot have. So what is the lesson for us? To find joy, we should focus on what we have and on what we can realistically hope to obtain.
Thank you. All right, let's first get a reader for Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 9. We have Brother Lee, please.
Ecclesiastes 6:9. Better to enjoy what the eyes see than to wander after one's desires. This too is futility, a chasing after the wind.
All right, thank you. So with that scripture in mind, the question for paragraph 5, to be joyful, on what should we focus? Sister Ferg, please.
If we want to be joyful, as we're encouraged in the verse, we would want to remember to keep our expectations and our hopes realistic, and that would mean that they would be in harmony with our current circumstances.
All right, good. Thank you. Brother Parker?
And as the verse brings out there, wishing for something that we can't have is like trying to chase after wind, which we know will only lead to us feeling unfulfilled.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Sister Elam?
If we allow ourselves to wander after our desires or keep wishing for privileges that Jehovah knows maybe realistically we can't attain at this moment, or maybe even in the near future, we can, if we're not careful, make our own heart sick, as Proverbs 13:12 says, and we can become depressed. We must remember that we have the new world ahead of us, and we can be assured that Jehovah, as any good parent, will in time keep us really, really busy with privileges beyond our imagination. And if we ever doubt that may happen in our case, if we just don't believe Jehovah, then just watch. Sit back, wait, because the best is yet to come.
Thank you, Sister Elam. So very nice. So it said we need to focus on what we have and on what we can realistically hope to obtain. So that was the lesson from that scripture. So to help us to see how to do this a little bit more fully, we're going to examine now this parable of the talents. Let's start now with paragraph number 6.
Is it really possible to be satisfied with what you already have? After all, as time passes, we naturally seek out new challenges. Yes, it really is possible. We can enjoy and not merely settle for what our eyes see. How can we do that? To find out, let us consider Jesus' parable of the talents found at Matthew 25:14-30. We will focus on what it can teach us about how to find joy and even increase our joy in the blessings we presently have.
So what parable will we now consider, and on what will we focus? Brother Leon, please.
On Jesus' parable of the talents, and in particular, how this parable helps us to find joy and how to increase joy in what we presently have.
Thank you. Brother Diaz.
And this parable of the talents doesn't mean that we have to settle for something less or not satisfying, but rather this joy is truly attainable
by changing our viewpoint of setting realistic goals and working diligently to achieve them.
All right, thank you. So that leads us nicely into our next subheading, how to increase your joy. Paragraph 7, please.
In the parable, a man was about to go on a trip. Before leaving, he called his slaves and gave each of them talents with which to do business. Taking in consideration their individual abilities, the man gave 5 talents to one slave, 2 to another, and 1 to a third slave. The first 2 slaves cared for these assets diligently. The third slave, however, did nothing with the money he was given, and he was dismissed from his master's service.
So briefly summarize Jesus' parable about the talents. Sister Diaz, please.
So there was a businessman who was about to travel abroad, but before the trip, he distributed a large amount of money to his slaves. 2 of those slaves did well, but 1 did nothing with it, and in the end, he was dismissed.
Excellent summary. Thank you. Could someone highlight for us the expressions explained as well, if you wouldn't mind? Brother Lee, please.
The expression explained, it shows just how much a talent was. It says that it was the equivalent of about 20 years' wage for an average worker. So if you think about it, for the master to entrust even just 1 talent to each of the slave would have been a very big privilege, and it would have shown that he trusted them. Likewise, even for us today, the privileges that are available to us, it might not be what we would have envisioned or hoped for, but even those that are available to us shows that Jehovah trusts us and that he dignifies us.
Good, thank you. Well, let's learn more now about how these slaves, or why they were joyful, in paragraph 8.
The first slave must have felt privileged to be entrusted with 5 of the master's talents. That was a great deal of money, and it indicated the extent of the master's trust in him. But what about the second slave? He could have been discouraged because he did not receive as many talents as the first slave did. But how did he respond?
So why could the first slave in the parable be joyful? Brother Vicente?
As we discussed in the last paragraph, we realize how much a talent is worth. And so for the first slave to be entrusted with 5 talents, we really see that the master had a lot of trust in him, and that the first slave could have had much reason to be joyful for that.
Very good. Thank you. Brother Parker?
And he found joy in having his 5. That's where he was happy with. He wasn't worried that somebody else got 2 or somebody else got 1. He was just focused on his 5 and found joy from that.
Very nice. Thank you. So now we'll see, what about the second slave though? He only got 2. So how did he feel? How did he respond? Well, before we read paragraph 9, we're going to ask Brother Waddell to read Matthew 25, 22, and 23, and then we'll go right into the reading of paragraph 9.
So Matthew 25, 22, and 23, it reads, Next, the one who received the 2 talents came forward and said, Master, you entrusted 2 talents to me. See, I gained 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful over a few things, and I will appoint you over many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Back to the paragraph. Jesus did not say that the second slave became upset and resentful because he had received only 2 talents. And Jesus not portrayed a slave as complaining. Is this all I get? Why, I'm just as capable as a slave who received 5 talents. If my master does not appreciate me, I may as well bury these 2 talents and pursue my own interests.
Thank you, Brother Wendell. I appreciate your good reading. So what did Jesus not say about the second slave? Sister Justice?
He does not say that the second slave became upset or resentful because he only got 2 talents, or that he complained, is this all I get? I'm way more capable than the first slave. I could have gotten 5 talents.
Excellent. Thank you. Sister Leon?
I also like how the second slave didn't compare himself to the first slave. And likewise, we shouldn't compare our privileges or our circumstances to those of others, because that's a sure way to ruin our joy.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, well said. Thank you. Brother Martinez?
And these slaves, they worked for the same master. They were of the same household. They were peers. If we were in their situation, the master gave one of our peers more than twice as much as he gave us based on ability, it would be so easy to take that personal, become resentful, think, why would I even bother? But we don't see the slave doing that.
Yeah, that's a real human reaction, isn't it? Sister Ferg?
It's nice there in verse 22 how we see the positive attitude of the slave when he reported back to his master. You can see he was very pleased that he said, see, I have 2 talents more. So he worked hard and he was happy with what he was given and what he was able to do with it.
Nice. Thanks for highlighting the scripture also. And Brother Waddell?
And you also see that the master was very appreciative of the second slave's efforts. In fact, he showed his appreciation so much after saying, well done, faithful slave. He appointed him over. He had the confidence of appointing him over many things. So it just showed you how Jehovah appreciates what we can do with our certain circumstances in life that we are in.
Very good. Thank you. Well, let's get into this a little bit more about what the second slave did with his assignment in paragraph number 10.
Like the first slave, the second slave took very seriously the responsibility he had been given and worked hard to serve his master. As a result, he doubled the master's talents. This slave's diligence and skill were richly rewarded. Not only did his master rejoice, but he judged the slave worthy of taking on even more responsibility.
So what did the second slave do with his talents? Brother Jackson, please.
Instead of feeling shortchanged, the second slave had a positive attitude. He took his responsibility seriously and he worked really hard. And like the first slave, he succeeded in doubling what he'd been given. And even though he didn't receive as many talents, the second slave worked just as hard and received equal approval and also equal blessing from his master.
Very good, thank you. And is it Sister Sheck? Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, he went right to work with the resources that were entrusted to him. In verse 16 says that immediately he went and did business with the talents. So as a result, he doubled what he was given, and his master praised him and said, enter into the joy of your master.
Yeah, he's got to work. Very good. Could someone highlight our illustration here and what lessons we can learn if someone want to bring out what they appreciated? Brother Leon, please.
So as we see there in the first picture to the left, the slave was just so privileged, just the right attitude, happy that he was given this responsibility, wasn't comparing himself to the other slaves. And we see that in the second image as well. He was completely absorbed and focused on his assignment, diligent, and again, not comparing himself with others. And in the third one to the right, we see that the fruits of his labor and how he was blessed for his hard work.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing those points out. Very good. So that's the lesson we want to learn, right? How can we imitate this second slave in our service to Jehovah? Well, paragraph number 11 will help us to see that.
Similarly, we can increase our joy by becoming absorbed in whatever we are given to do in Jehovah's service. Be intensely occupied in the preaching work and being fully involved in congregation activities. Go to the meetings prepared to give upbuilding comments on the material that's being studied. Take seriously any student assignment you have on the midweek meeting. If you are asked to help out with a certain task in the congregation, be punctual and reliable. Do not treat any assignment you are given as if it were unworthy of your time. Strive to improve your skills. The more absorbed you are in your spiritual activities and assignments, the quicker you progress and the greater your joy will be. You will also find it easy to rejoice with others when they receive a privilege that you would like to receive.
So this is a very key paragraph in our lesson today. So let's get some application that we can use for ourselves, for our congregations. So the question is, how can we increase our joy? Brother Sorrell.
The word there used, absorbed, it makes you think of it permeates, it soaks in, you're totally enveloped by it. And really, that helps us to envision the video we had this week on our midweek meeting with Jason, and how in every aspect of life, work, his family life, his congregation activities, he was volunteering for construction site in his construction ministry, we could say, and he was just absorbed in it. And we saw that joy come across and how he was happily caring for those responsibilities. And it was just really a blessing to him and those around him.
Thank you. And Brother Elam?
The word used there, absorb, means to have one's attention fully engaged. Paul was like that when it came to his ministry. As noted, he was intensely occupied. If we develop that same attitude toward any assignment we're given, we'll have no time to focus on what others are given, because we'll be so involved in our assignment and completing it to the best of our ability that we will not be distracted by what others have, but thankful for what we do have.
Excellent. Thank you, Brother Elam. Brother Justice.
And also, it's a very interesting point that if we're focused on one privilege or one goal, we see someone else get the privilege, well, we'll get discouraged because we're not reaching out. We might feel jealous. But really, if we're fully absorbed, involved in these activities, we're going to keep our joy, because really, we're either going to be reaching out to encourage others, or we're going to be fully involved with that person who may receive the privilege, or we may even be looking to them as a good example. So we totally have a great deal of joy in that, whereas we could be jealous. So what a benefit that is.
Very good. Thank you. Sister Sorrell?
I love that thought too. And Galatians 5:26 will really help us too when it comes to rejoicing with those who rejoice. It reminds us to stomp down our ego, avoid competition and envy, and then it truly will be possible.
Thank you. Brother Parker?
And one thing I've seen too is that when I put my own self first, that I usually feel stressed out and worried. But when I put God's kingdom first, that's when I feel things fall in place and I feel joy.
Yeah, thanks for that personal application too. Appreciate that. Sister Ferg?
Also too, when we do our best and we put forth our best effort, we see the improvement in ourselves. And the scripture there in Galatians, when we recognize the progress that we're making in that way, it is a cause for rejoicing.
Thank you. So if we're ever feeling discouraged, disappointed with what we're able to do in Jehovah's service, well, this is a paragraph to remember. This is a subheading to remember, really, how to increase our joy, be absorbed in whatever we're given to do. Well, let's see some steps that other witnesses have taken to increase their joy, and then we can see how we can imitate them as well. Let's get into paragraph number 12.
Remember Melissa, the sister who expressed her desire to serve at Bethel or attend the school for kingdom evangelizers. Although unable to fulfill those desires, she says, I try to be fully involved in my pioneer ministry and to participate in all its features. This has brought me great joy. And how about Nick? How did Nick cope with his disappointment when he was passed over as a ministerial servant? I focused on the privileges that were available to me, participating in the field ministry and giving meaningful comments at meetings. I also applied for Bethel service, and I was accepted the very next year.
What steps did two witnesses take to intensify their joy? Brother Sheck, please.
In the case of Melissa, she concentrated on field ministry and what she could do. And in our case, in our own congregation, many are taking advantage of preaching by telephone, by letters. Our circuit overseer said that the number of return visits and Bible studies has skyrocketed since this pandemic. So we can find joy in doing return visits and conducting home Bible studies.
Excellent. Thank you. Brother Diaz.
And we also have the example of Nick, who focused on the privilege that were available to him, such as participating in the field ministry and giving meaningful comments. And we could think that those are truly special privileges to carry Jehovah's name in the ministry and to praise him in the congregations are privileges that only those acceptable to Jehovah are able to do.
Very good. Good point. Thank you. Brother Parker?
Sorry, I meant to lower my hand.
No problem. Thank you. Very good. So that was nicely covered. We see the examples of these two witnesses, what they were able to do. Really, it's the basics, right? Be fully involved in your ministry. Focus on the privileges that you do have and do your best at them. So what will result if we do this? Paragraph number 13, please.
If you become fully absorbed in your present assignment, will you receive greater responsibility in the future? That could happen, as it did for Nick. But if not, like Melissa, your joy will still increase, and you will have a great sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. Furthermore, you will no doubt find great joy in knowing that your efforts are pleasing to our Master, Jesus Christ.
Could someone read Ecclesiastes 2:24, please? Brother Vicente?
There is nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and find enjoyment in his hard work. This too, I have realized, is from the hand of the true God.
So what will result if you become absorbed in your present assignment? Brother Leon.
As we saw in the scripture, we find enjoyment in our hard work, and that's pleasing to Jehovah and Jesus. So if we give our best and become absorbed in our present assignment, no matter what it results in, we'll always feel great joy afterwards, and that's along with satisfaction and accomplishment from giving our best.
Thank you. And Brother Vicente, did you have another thought? Or residual hand, no problem. Brother Waddell, please.
And I was thinking also, not only will we find joy, but our joy will also emanate from the fact that we know that we are pleasing Jehovah and Jesus, and that's where the greatest joy comes in.
Thank you. Brother Jackson.
We might be tempted to focus on the grass over the fence and think that it looks greener, but maybe we just need to water and cultivate the grass we're standing on to make it grow and prosper. So if we focus on our present assignment, are fully absorbed, and cultivate it fully, not only will we be happy, but our Master will be also.
Thank you. And Brother Elon.
Experience has shown that a person may be required to give up a lot in order to make themselves available to be used fully by Jehovah. But in return, the blessings you experience will far outweigh and outnumber the sacrifices you make.
Thank you. So if we work really hard to reach our goals, if we work hard to become absorbed in our assignment, does that mean we're going to get extra responsibility, extra privileges, or reach the goals we want? Necessarily, Brother Waddell?
No, not necessarily, but we can be assured that we will be happy.
Yeah, exactly. And why so? Maybe if, again, highlighting Ecclesiastes 2:24. Even if we don't reach that goal we want, why can we still be happy? The Justice family, Autumn, thank you.
We know we will have this because, as that scripture brought out, we know that we are getting the blessing from Jehovah, or he is pleased with what we're doing.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So when we work hard for Jehovah, he's going to bless us, and as a result, we'll get joy. So this subheading was excellent. How to increase your joy, something for us to keep in mind as we go about our service to Jehovah. Well, now we're going to switch gears just a little bit and see, well, what are some goals that add to our joy? What are some things that we can reach out for? Perhaps if we can't reach those, some of the goals that we've desired in the past. So paragraph number 14, please, Brother Waddell.
Does focusing on our present assignment means that we should stop looking for ways to expand our service to Jehovah? By no means. We can and we should set spiritual goals that help us stretch forward in our efforts to be productive in the ministry and helpful to our brothers and sisters. We succeed when we wisely and modestly focus on serving others instead of ourselves.
Thank you. And I just want to say, everyone's doing a fantastic job with your comments. Appreciate it so much. Really heartfelt and helps us to get the main point. So keep it up. Keep it going. Thank you. So the question for number 14, with regard to our spiritual goals, what should we keep in mind? Sister Martinez.
So just because we're enjoying our present assignments, it doesn't mean that we should settle, but instead we want to continue with our spiritual progress and keep in mind that we want to continue setting spiritual goals.
Thank you. Sister Elam?
Yes, we must be wise and modest as we seek to expand our service to Jehovah. We want to endeavor to be intensely occupied with the privileges that we presently are able to reach. And we want to pay attention even to ways we can maybe be more creative and helpful to our brothers and sisters right now. And then we want to look to pursue goals that we can reasonably attain.
Excellent. Thank you. And Brother Sorrell.
So that scripture there in Acts gives us some direction too on really assisting those who are weak. So looking for opportunities to find those that may are experiencing temporary weakness or maybe need our long-term support based on their circumstances. So really being helpful to our brothers and sisters requires us to take note and also to show a modesty and focus on others.
Thank you. And Brother Vicente?
I really appreciate this paragraph because up till now, what we've seen is that Jehovah wants us to see the privileges that we have, to find enjoyment in what we currently have, and to be completely absorbed in what we have. But then this paragraph says, well, that's great. You're doing great, but you can still do more. And so I really appreciate this because sometimes we get stuck in the absorb part, and that we don't see the need that we're able to actually give more of ourselves, especially for others. So I really do appreciate this paragraph.
Nice comment. Thank you. Brother Lee.
And we'll be really missing the point if we start giving up and expanding our service to Jehovah just because we don't qualify or can't attain some of the privileges or goals. And because regardless of whatever the goal or privilege is, all of these are really meant to expand the ministry and the preaching and teaching work, and also to support the brotherhood. So even regardless of what privileges we can attain or cannot attain, in our given circumstances, we can really help out our brothers and sisters, and we can continue expanding our ministry for Joe as well. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate that. And Sister Jackson?
We had the very nice point on this month's broadcasting about being modest in assignments that we take on. And it reminded me of the scripture in Proverbs 11:2 about how wisdom is with the modest one. So we would never want to accept an assignment and then have to stop halfway through, but take each assignment step by step with the modesty that we need.
Thank you. And Brother Martinez.
So modesty and stretching, it is a delicate balance. Using that word stretching there in the paragraph, we're definitely not going to be self-sparing, stagnant. We're going to be pushing ourselves a little bit, but at the same time, when you physically stretch, you don't stretch so much that you pull something or fall over. So like Proverbs says, being modest adds wisdom.
Good, thank you. All right, well, what are some specific goals that perhaps we can reach for? Paragraph 15 will get us started with that.
What goals might you set for yourself? Ask Jehovah to help you discern what you can realistically hope to accomplish. Could you pursue one of the goals mentioned in the first paragraph of this article? Becoming an auxiliary or regular pioneer, serving at Bethel, or sharing theocratic construction projects? Or maybe you are in a position to learn a new language in order to spread the good news or even preach in a foreign territory. You can learn what is involved by reviewing chapter 10 of the book, Organized to Do Jehovah's Will, and by talking with the elders in your congregation. As you work towards such goals, your advancement will become manifest and your joy will increase.
So what are some goals that can help you to increase your joy? Brother Sheck.
Well, a personal goal is to conduct a home Bible study, which in my case has been a source of great joy during this pandemic. During the pandemic, 2 new ones in our congregation have become regular pioneers. They may have preferred Bethel service or work on a construction project, but those just weren't available to them. So they're making the best of their current situation and finding joy in doing so.
Very good. Thank you. That's a great goal in a Bible study. What are some other goals, Sister Justice?
We could endeavor to learn a new language or even go preach in a foreign territory.
Good. And what's the advice it gives here? If we're interested in expanding our ministry, where can we look, or what should we do to help us? Brother Diaz.
We coupled Proverbs 16:3 to commit to Jehovah and whatever we do, in James 1:5 to ask Jehovah for wisdom. We realize that we got to open our hearts to Him, talk to Him about it, and see how He can help us in achieving these realistic goals that will bring joy to us.
Good, thank you. And Sister Sheck?
And probably some young ones are pursuing to be ministerial servants or elders. They can always consider several chapters in the Organized to Do Jehovah's Will, 5, 6, and 10, on how they can reach those goals.
Yeah, that's an excellent resource. Thank you. Brother Elam.
The comedian Milton Berle was once recorded as saying, if opportunity doesn't knock, then build a door. So if what you've been waiting for does not become a reality, then have game plan B and C. There are 26 alphabets, so just keep working them. And eventually, you'll give Jehovah something to bless.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that. Good source of wisdom there. Appreciate that. So as we work towards our goals, we'll be happier, our advancement will be manifest, as the paragraph mentioned, but sometimes we just can't reach the goals that we want. Well, what then? Paragraph number 16.
But what if you are presently unable to reach one of the aforementioned goals? The key is to look for another goal when you can reasonably attain. Consider the following possibilities.
So what can you do if you are presently unable to reach a specific goal? Sister Sorrell.
If we don't get discouraged, then we can set another goal and achieve that one.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Sister Ferg.
We're encouraged to set goals for ourselves that we can reach, and in some cases it may be that we reach out for a goal again that we've reached previously, but perhaps we can set a new goal of improving or enhancing it in some way, which we will cover more.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Well, let's see then what are some of these other goals as we move into paragraph 17, what we might be able to reach out for. But first, Brother Waddell, if you could read the scripture, 1 Timothy 4:13 and 15, and then the paragraph.
1 Timothy 4:13 reads, Until I come, continue applying yourself to public reading, to exhortation, to teaching. Verse 15, ponder over these things, be absorbed in them, so that your advancement may be plainly seen by all people. Back to the paragraph. If you are a baptized brother, you might work on improving your speaking and teaching ability. Why? Because you're getting absorbed in reading, speaking, and teaching will be a blessing to your listeners. Try setting a goal of studying and applying each speech quality discussed in the brochure. Apply yourself to reading and teaching. Study one quality at a time. Practice diligently at home, and endeavor to manifest that quality in your talk assignments. Seek out suggestions from the auxiliary council or other elders who work hard in speaking and teaching. Focus not only on understanding the technique, but also on helping your listeners to strengthen their faith, or on motivating them to take a certain course of action. By doing so, you will enhance your joy and theirs.
So according to 1 Timothy 4:13 and 15, how might a brother work toward becoming a better teacher? Brother Waddell, please.
Well, a brother want to make the effort to improve on this, have it put it in his mind, and he will begin reading and also practicing speaking, and therefore he will improve in this endeavor.
Good, thank you. Sister Leon.
Yeah, and the goal isn't just to understand the techniques on like an academic level, but to truly reach the heart and strengthen the faith and motivate listeners, because that's where what really gives us joy.
Good. Thank you. So maybe someone could comment on the picture and perhaps also how we would go about using this brochure, Apply Yourself to Reading and Teaching, to improve in our speaking. Brother Sheck, please.
In the picture we see this brother, maybe it's Nick, poring over the brochure, Apply Yourself to Reading and Teaching, and really pondering over it. He's absorbed in it, along with the Bible. And every week, at our weekly midweek meetings, counsel is given from this brochure. So we should have it handy during those meetings so we can benefit from the counsel. Although it's applied to a specific person, it's general counsel for all of us.
Very nice. Thank you. And Brother Justice?
And as far as being able to use that nice teaching tool, it's very simple. It's very short. But each one of those headings has a nice scriptural principle. Brother can meditate on that. And then the focus of the lesson isn't focused on yourself. How can the person be a better speaker, given more impressive talks? But it really turns the focus to others. How we can really help them, how we benefit the brothers. So that in itself helps us to increase our joy while we progress in our benefit to the congregation.
Thank you. And Brother Leon.
And this is something continuous that we're always working on. Appreciated in 1 Timothy, when he received this letter, he was already an experienced brother, likely a very effective and good teacher. But even then, he received this exhortation to continue working on this. So it's something that we don't master any aspect of teaching. We can always improve.
Thank you. Brother Elam.
Good teaching is like good food. Some of us desire to be a gourmet chef, and we're not content with just being a good cook. Most people don't find gourmet food desirable, what may be unique, but they do like a good cook. So if you can improve your skills so that what you provide in the way of spiritual food feeds the appetite of the majority of God's people and strengthens their faith, then you will always have a desirable audience.
Very nice. Thank you, Brother Leon. Appreciate that thought. So a really good reminder here for brothers especially, using this brochure, delving into it, becoming absorbed in it, practicing. That's something that we can always work on, always an excellent goal to improve our teaching. And really that benefits the entire congregation, enhances our ministry. So a wonderful goal there. Let's move on to another suggestion, paragraph number 18.
All of us have the assignment to preach and make disciples. Would you like to sharpen your skill in this all-important work? Set specific goals as you study and apply what you learn from the teaching brochure. You can obtain additional practical suggestions from our Christian Life and Ministry Meeting Workbook and sample conversation videos shown at the midweek meetings. Try a variety of ideas to find out what works best. By following these suggestions, you will surely experience incomparable joy of becoming a skilled Christian minister.
So what can help us reach goals in our field ministry? Brother Sorrell.
Really, we've been encouraged to use these tools that we have in our midweek meeting. We have the sample conversations that are provided for us. And in addition to that, we recently received the Iron Sharpens Iron segment in our broadcast that we can really benefit from.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other thoughts there? Or if not, we can comment on the picture. How did this sister in the picture show that she was reaching out for this goals or this goal in her ministry? Brother Jackson.
Well, this opportunity to witness didn't happen by chance. This sister had a goal. She worked at being prepared and ready. And she may have reviewed and practiced conversational points that she could use, and then she brought a card to leave, and no doubt she prayed beforehand so that she would have Jehovah's help in accomplishing what she wanted to.
Very nice, thank you. Brother Monell?
And if you look in the diner, there's a lot of distractions going on, not to mention the good food. But because she was focused and she made it a goal, as mentioned, she was able to be prepared and still give a witness, not allowing anything to distract her in that endeavor.
Good, thank you. So this is something all of us can do. This is a goal we all can reach, right? To sharpen our skills, to improve our skills in the ministry. So by taking advantage of our midweek meeting, setting goals for our ministry, we can certainly even again enhance our skills and praise Jehovah. Well, what is one more thing that we can do. Paragraph number 19.
When considering goals for yourself, do not neglect one of the most important, cultivating Christian qualities. How could you proceed? Suppose, for example, that you want to develop stronger faith. You might read articles in our publication that gives practical suggestions for strengthening your faith. You would certainly benefit from watching segments of the JW broadcasting that illustrates how brothers and sisters have shown exemplary faith while dealing with various trials. Then consider ways in which you can imitate their faith in your own life.
So how might you develop Christian qualities? Brother Sheck, please.
The three scriptures cited there, Galatians 5, Colossians 3, 2 Peter 1, there are 21 different Christian qualities mentioned in those three texts. So if we dedicated 1 week to studying and trying to apply each one of those, it would be over 5 months of time well spent just on developing those Christian qualities.
Excellent, thank you. Sister Justice.
Just as you would do with any skill, or if you wanted to learn a language or musical instrument, there's 3 ways that can help you. You learn about it, you study it. We do that with our publications, and then we watch an expert, someone skilled in that, and we learn that way also. Well, we have JW Broadcasting that has the brothers and sisters in their stories, and then third, we put it into practice. So we consider ways in which we can imitate those examples we saw.
Thank you. And Brother Diaz?
In 2 Peter 1:8, he shows how powerful it is to develop and maintain those Christian qualities, because they'll help us to or prevent for being either inactive or unfruitful. So we see how important it is for us to develop these Christian qualities and to set goals that will bring joy to our service to Jehovah.
Thank you. So what goal do you think the picture or the sister in the illustration was reaching out for, perhaps? Sister Martinez?
Yeah, it's possible the sister was reaching out to show love, to show kindness, and we definitely see that she's showing that there in that picture. And not only is the sister who's showing or giving that love is benefiting from it, but also the sister receiving it, as we see both of their smiles in their faces.
Thank you. Elam?
In regards to these divine qualities that Peter enumerated here in 2 Peter 1, sometimes we're quick to go on to the next one because we think we perfected the first. Peter said if these things overflow, they exist and overflow. When I think about that, what comes to my mind is a jazz musician. I'm not going to mention his name. He plays the guitar, and he was able to do so while singing effortlessly. And somebody asked him, how do you do that? You're singing and playing the guitar effortlessly as if you're able to do it without any training. He says, it appears effortless. He says, I practice 4 hours every day to appear before others to be doing it effortlessly. So the same thing is true with us. We just think I've mastered it. Well, that's your personal opinion. So Peter says, keep working on it anyway until you overflow, and then you'll be productive and you'll be developing the qualities that make you more Christ-like.
Very good. Yeah, always more to work on. Thank you, Brother Elam. Appreciate that. Paragraph number 20, please.
No doubt all of us wish we could do more for Jehovah than we can do at the present. In God's new world, we'll be able to serve Him to the full. Meanwhile, by taking advantage of whatever opportunities are available to us, we can add to our joy and reduce any feelings of disappointment. Even more important, we can bring honor and praise to Jehovah, our happy God. So let us find joy in the privileges we have.
When Bell, that was some very heartfelt reading. We appreciate it very much, the excellent job you did, so thank you for that. So for paragraph 20, how can we add to our joy and reduce disappointment? Sister Elam?
Yes, we really must guard against making our own heart sick or upset with feelings of disappointment. We really don't want to allow depression to paralyze us. We have to remember that privileges are wonderful goals to reach out for. However, they really do not define who we are in Jehovah's family. We're all God's fellow workers. And remembering the big picture involves our doing everything we can to vindicate Jehovah's sovereignty and to magnify his most holy name.
Thank you. And Sister Jackson?
And if we encourage and feed that willing spirit, we will look for opportunities whenever they pop up. It may be a short-term opportunity. For example, can we help the brother fill in with a last-minute discussion that needs to go on in the midweek meeting? Could we help out in the congregation when maybe there was food distribution going on and we could help the brothers? Or we could make a monetary contribution, but there's always something that we can do if we are looking for those opportunities.
Thank you. And lastly, Brother Lee.
Another thing we can do is envisioning ourselves in the future in Jehovah's New World, where a lot of the limitations that are placed upon us right now, like such as health or circumstantial limitations, prevent us from reaching out for certain privileges. Those will all be gone in the new world. So envisioning ourselves in the new world where we can fully serve Jehovah to the fullest extent, that can also help us bring joy.
Thank you. Well, this is a very fine lesson, very practical application for all of us. But now by way of review, we have our box at the end. How would you answer? The first question, how can Jesus' illustration of the talents help you find joy in whatever privileges of service you have? Sister Leland.
Yeah, first of all, we should feel privileged for being entrusted with participating in the preaching work. And then we shouldn't compare what privileges we have to those of others or what privileges we wish we had. And then we want to become fully focused and absorbed on spiritual things.
Nice, thank you. And Brother Vicente.
And continuing with Sister Lynn's comments, I appreciated how I was able to take something, or we all could take something from each one of the slaves. From the slave that had 5, we can appreciate the point about not necessarily looking at others and their privileges that they were given. From the second slave that received the lower amount, we can appreciate that we want to give our 100%, to give our best in our assignment. And from the slave with just 1 talent, we can learn that we don't want to not be appreciative of the talent that we're given or the privileges that Jehovah's given us. We want to make sure that we're always giving our best, be it a student assignment, a part in the congregation, or even in our ministry.
Thank you. And our second question, how can you become a better teacher? Brother Martinez. I think you're still muted, Brother Martinez. Sorry.
I'm sorry. One way is just by getting feedback from other experienced brothers and sisters, maybe the auxiliary counselor, experienced elder, because we could be working on something from the teaching brochures and think we're doing great. Then we give it to that individual and like, okay, that illustration wasn't so clear. I'm not actually doing this as much as I thought. And they can tell you that.
Good, thank you. And the last question, what other reasonable goals might you set for yourself? Sister Ferg.
We're encouraged to set a goal for ourselves. We can endeavor to improve our Christian qualities, but also other goals that we can have is preparing well for our assignments that we're given, also for our comments that we can share at our congregation meetings.
Okay, thank you. And Brother Elam?
We can also set the goal of not robbing others of their joy. In the third illustration, the image there, it showed a sister bringing some foodstuffs to another. How hurt she would have been if the sister had said, no, I'm good. And I'm reminded of an experience I had when I was in Bethel some years ago. I was assigned to a congregation where we had more than a few single parents. And this one sister was probably in her mid to late 40s, and she had 3 children. And at the time, the Bethel allowance was $14 a month. And I'm saying that because it illustrates why I should never refuse her kindness and generosity. Every month, after she received her check, she would give me $20 and I would give it back to her. And I said, sister, please, I can't take this. I said, because you're a single parent, you have 3 children, spend it on your needs. The third time I did that, she started crying. And I said, what did I do wrong? She said, Brother Elam, when I came into truth, I realized I was too old to go to Bethel. By the time my children had reached the age of maturity, I would not be able to. So I made a vow to Jehovah that I would support those who are in Bethel. And she says, and I've been trying to live up to that trust, and you keep rejecting me. So I learned that others have set personal goals, and we have to be careful in our endeavors that we don't rob them of their joy.
Thank you, Brother Elam. We appreciate your comments, and really appreciate having you with us for the talk today as well. We enjoyed that. One last comment, Brother or Sister Martinez, please.
I tend to be shy by nature, so for me, a reasonable goal is to stick around after the meeting and join a breakout room, recognizing that it does give me joy and it gives others joy.
Yeah, that's a good goal. Good comment. Thank you. Well, we appreciate all the comments, the excellent comments, friends. Thank you for the wonderful support as we study this really practical lesson to help us find joy in the privileges that we do have. As we've seen, there's so many wonderful privileges that we can reach out for in Jehovah's service. And likely we all wish we could do more, that we can make improvements. But sometimes some goals are just out of our reach. So aren't we glad for the reminders that we receive from Jesus' illustration of the talents? We see the need not to compare ourselves with others, but instead just to work hard and to be fully absorbed in whatever we have been given to do. So wonderful reminders. And when we do that, we'll honor Jehovah and we'll reach our ultimate goal of serving him forever. So once again, we really appreciated the meeting today. Thank you, Brother Elam, for being with us. So to conclude our meeting, we're going to sing song number 82,